Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the top 10 best games of 2017, in my opinion. Every year I do one of these lists, and I figured for this year, because I've redesigned the channel in such a big way, I had to redo the way I do the list. Yes, we're still counting down my top 10 favorite games of 2017, and yes, there's certainly certain criteria that goes into play, such as I played every game on this list, every game came out in 2017, none of those games were standalones, all of the games on this list were released finished. Sorry, PUBG. But no, aside from those criteria and those rules, I wanted to change up the style to make it a little more personable and to kind of present this as these were my personal takes, not the objective best games of 2017. So hopefully that makes sense to you. We're about to go into this, starting with some honorable mentions. Super Mario Odyssey, this is a big thing because I don't have a Nintendo Switch, and this was the launch year for the console, and man, what a great year it had because of games like Super Mario Odyssey, which takes everything that came before it in not just Mario's legacy, but in the 3D platforming genre, and delivers this culmination in everything that the genre has ever delivered. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is also an honorable mention for pretty much the same exact reason. Nier Automata, again, yet another game that I wish I played. I totally could have played it, but I never got around to it in my end of the year gaming binge, though I really wanted to. Another game I also wish I got the chance to play because I have a PS4 is Persona 5, yet another honorable mention. Just the style of Persona 5 alone is worthy of recognition because I think this game is perhaps bolder creatively than most of any other game that came out this year, and it's truly fantastic and fun, and something that I wish I was able to play. The last honorable mention I have is for Sonic Mania. Man, what an incredible 2D platformer. In my opinion, what Super Mario Odyssey does for 3D platformers is similar to what Sonic Mania does for 2D platformers. This game was fast, it was fun. I was absolutely in love with Sonic Mania from start to finish, minus the parts where I got stuck, because it happened a lot. It very nearly made the list. With all that being said, it's now time we get into the top 10 best games of 2017, starting with number 10.
Today, the world welcomes its new masters. The Society!
Unsurprisingly, NetherRealms yet again delivers another excellent fighting game, this time being a sequel to 2013 Injustice Gods Among Us. Injustice 2, flat out, just like the first game, is excellently designed. I like the roster here a bit more than the first game. It's spanning the entire DC mythos and the campaign as well for what it is and how cheesy it is. It gave me exactly what I was hoping for. A nice bombastic fun romp in the DC universe, and it did some things that I don't think I've ever seen in a DC Comics storyline, at least as a mainstream DC Comics reader. And it did things with characters that I thought were really creative and fun, and it of course provided plenty of really fun encounters between different battling heroes and villains. I think Injustice 2 also has some of my favorite multiplayer from a game this year, and the fighting just never gets dull no matter what character I'm playing with, and I'm always finding out new things and new ways to play characters in this game, and it's amazing how much depth NetherRealms puts into each and every one of these games, and that's no different with Injustice 2. What an incredible game, and a worthy place at the very end of this list. I never really cared for horror games until 2017, and that started with my experience with Resident Evil 7. This game takes a premise that is probably going to get under anyone's skin, being stuck in a house with undead rednecks, and uses that premise to put you in the most undesirable of scenarios. But all of those scenarios do build adrenaline, and they are admittedly well designed. Man, for a horror game, this game sure is horrifying. There are definitely some scary moments in this game, and all throughout, the developers really had a great understanding of atmosphere and just how to get under the player's skin and make them do things that they really didn't want to do, but they had to brave up and do it anyway. The whole game takes place within this very tiny enclosed residence, and it's kind of amazing how packed it is and how many secrets and little details there are to find. Just like that original Resident Evil game back all the way when it came out, there are things to find in the world, or things or secrets that you find where you go, wait a minute, I can use this for something over here. Resident Evil 7 was my first rodeo with this franchise, and I'm pretty glad to say it was, because I found this game to be a very rich experience every single time I had the chance to play it. It was scary, thrilling, basically everything that I think I wanted and didn't even know I needed out of a Resident Evil game. When I first heard about what Cuphead was, and when I first saw gameplay and trailers for this game, I really struggled to wrap my brain around what exactly it was. It looked like I was just watching a cartoon, and that feeling never really goes away until you actually get your hands on the game and you're in it. Cuphead takes really slick bullet hell mechanics, which are really easy to learn but very difficult to master, puts you in some delightfully terrible gameplay scenarios where you're pitted up against all manners of different enemies and bosses, and forces you to run the gambits, and a surprisingly thought-provoking premise. That was something I really appreciated about Cuphead, was the subtle thoughts put into basically every aspect of the game. That and the cartoon aesthetic, because looking at this game is a marvel, and it would be great to just say that every game that looked great was great, but with Cuphead, I can't compliment the visuals for this game nearly enough. The visual design for bosses and the world and characters in this game are absolutely brilliant and bursting with imagination. I applaud the indie studio that worked on this game for creating such imaginative designs for monsters and enemies. It's truly nothing that has ever been done in gaming before. Cuphead is definitely one of the best indie games of the year, and one of the most wild and imaginative games that you could possibly play this year as well.
What you have started in Egypt will change the course of history.
We must continue the fight and defend the free will of the people.
Though this game is a bit rough around the edges, when you put it up against the previous Assassin's Creed entries, specifically Unity and Syndicate, it's really easy to see how Ubisoft put way more effort into making sure that Origins would be a completely competent, not just Assassin's Creed title, but video game, and made what was essentially probably one of the best open worlds I think I've ever played in a video game. The world they've created, Ancient Egypt, is brimming and bursting with detail, with historical accuracy, and with adventure. Origins kept me playing for hours and hours and hours on end, well past when I thought I was actually going to be done with the game, because though it is not a perfect game, the gameplay loop and the criticisms that I can make about it are completely undermined by just how fun it is and how many scenarios this game put me in that I thought were really, really enjoyable. As an RPG, Assassin's Creed totally works, and all of its elements are actually elevated by that. And perhaps most prominently, the story of how the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood came to be and just how it's conveyed in this game, I think more than anything else speaks volumes to how much Ubisoft really cares about this series and how much they really care about their fans. Because for me, Origins reminded me why I love Assassin's Creed so much, and it really brought all the things that I think were great in previous entries of the series into one big title, and what I got was a game that I can say I'm very, very satisfied with. Origins is a game I'll keep coming back to again and again and again until I 100% it, and even then I might replay it again, because no other open world game right now provides a setting as rich and with as much depth as Ancient Egypt and Assassin's Creed Origins. What an excellent video game.
Once I have the power of the core, you will be truly free.
As I said when talking about Resident Evil 7, I hadn't become a fan of the horror game genre until 2017, and that was certainly the case with the Evil Within series. I got my way over to the second game, which is a complete departure in just about every aspect from many of the storytelling decisions of the first game, but ultimately I think those storytelling decisions paid off, because whereas Resident Evil 7 is a master of atmosphere and scares, Evil Within 2 is a master of emotion and heart, and though it does have its fair share of cheesy moments, the story always understands exactly what it is in the story it's trying to tell, and it never uses that to sacrifice its heartfelt moments, because I don't think any game this year really had me feel on as deep of a level as Evil Within 2. There are some great creature designs in this game. The bosses are brimming with imagination, truly some disgusting and terrifying things, stuff that is going to take a while for me to forget about, just like with the first game. Some great survival gameplay, a bigger emphasis on crafting, a really interesting interconnected hub open world design that I thought left a lot of room for replayability, whereas the first game kind of lacked that, and an overall attention to detail that tends to be missing from a lot of AAA games these days. Evil Within 2 was downright excellent. It's a game that I'll probably be coming back to for New Game Plus anytime soon, and if you're a fan of the horror game genre, specifically Resident Evil 4, I would say, you should totally consider looking into Evil Within 2. It is the most underrated game of 2017, quite possibly.
Warning, this is a station-wide emergency.
If just one of those creatures gets back to Earth, we're lost.
I have long loved the PC first-person shooter RPG type gameplay of System Shock and Deus Ex and Bioshock and games of that sort. And in a way, Prey, though from a developer that has never dabbled in the genre, feels like a culmination of all the ideas that have come before it in those games and in this genre. I think Prey has been one of the most satisfying games I've played this year in terms of gameplay, from putting me in scenarios where my tools or skills came in handy, whereas other tools and skills didn't, how my perseverance and my wit kept me ahead of the enemy in the challenges I was facing, and how my very same perseverance and wit would help me unlock new things in the game, and how it would lead me to new paths or approaches in the game that I wasn't expecting. Combine all that into this interconnected space station, which is packed, again, just like the setting in Resident Evil 7, is packed with detail and things to discover and things to unlock and explore, which is again a testament to the excellent level design in Prey. I found myself thoroughly locked into Prey and enjoying just about every savory gameplay moment of it. The controls are slick, the gunplay is very imaginative and fun. I really appreciated some of the unique and wacky gameplay elements here, and especially when you combine that with the gameplay of the mimics. Once you're able to pick up on that and integrate that into the gameplay, that's where I think Arcane Studios' Dishonored sensibilities came through, and I thought it was a pretty good mix. I think, though this is a very big departure from what Prey 2 was originally going to be, and this is a reboot, I'm still very okay with what this game turned out to be, and it's definitely one of the most satisfying gameplay experiences I've had all year with a video game. Check out Prey, it's excellent.
They can break you, but not your promise. Even death won't keep you apart. Through his darkness you will find him. In your sword still beats your heart.
I only recently had the chance to check out this game, and I very nearly missed it, and I can't believe I let myself do that, because Hellblade may not just be one of the most important video games of the year, or all time for that matter, but the ideas and things it explores is done in such an effective and thought-provoking and intense emotional way that I think that for the topic and subject matter it explores, there is no way that this could possibly have been done better than as a video game. What Ninja Theory wisely did was they told a very sympathetic story to Senua, the person with this mental illness, psychosis, and use that to kind of open the door to the player's empathy and understanding for it as well. Senua isn't a bad person. She's just marred with this mental illness, and she has challenges and struggles that she has to overcome in doing that. And for me, that's what I really liked about this game, was how it integrated aspects of psychosis into mechanics in the gameplay really seamlessly and let you kind of simulate what this mental illness really feels like. The combat is simple yet really satisfying. The world is filled with detail and has some truly terrifying moments that I really was not expecting. This is a game I recommend everyone at least explore if they don't get the chance to play it, because the subject matter it explores is very sensitive, but it's done in a very accurate and honorable way. It makes for one of the most thought-provoking and excellent video games that I have played in such a long time. I thoroughly loved Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and I'm sure you will too if you get the chance to play it.
You take freedom away from the American people, you're playing with fire. And I intend to pour some gasoline.
I thoroughly enjoyed Wolfenstein: The New Order, which came out in 2014. I thought it was a very fun game, but it didn't go as far as I think I wanted it to, or as far as it possibly could have with some of its story decisions. Well, here comes Wolfenstein II. Not only an improvement in terms of the story, because there are things that happen in this game that I have legitimately never seen in a video game, but this game also makes improvements in the gameplay that I wasn't expecting, or improvements in the gameplay that I didn't think the game really could have used. The shooting controls and gameplay are even more fast and even more fun than what they were in The New Order. The encounters you have with enemies are intense and brutal and oh so satisfying when you legitimately kill all the Nazis, and the flow of the gameplay here is damn near masterful. Seriously, this is an excellently paced game, and every setting it takes you to is even more interesting and exciting than the last. If nothing else, the mixture of serious commentary and bombastic story moments makes for a really bold and memorable story. One that left me satisfied, one that was absolutely thrilling from start to finish, and kept me coming back, in addition to just how fun the gameplay was and how well designed the levels are. Overall, Wolfenstein II is probably one of the best FPSs in years. Maybe slightly behind Doom, still trying to figure that out in my head, but nothing else. It is a big improvement over the first game, and it is one of the best games of the year. If it wasn't for my decision to pick up these next two games, Wolfenstein 2 would have probably been a Game of the Year contender. I'm not that familiar with the CRPG genre. I've really only ever dabbled into it, but it is a genre that I still nonetheless have a lot of interest in, and it's a genre I'm trying to get into. And I'm really proud to say that the game that I really think I finally got into it with was Divinity Original Sin 2, because this game takes everything that I think has become a staple of the genre and refines it to the absolute most perfect point. That becomes evident from the very beginning of the game. As soon as you create your character, this has some of the most in-depth character customization I've ever seen in a video game. Maybe not in the sense that you can change how your character looks right down to the finest nose hair so much, but in the sense that there are so many different factors in creating your character that have an impact on your story, on the gameplay. That alone leaves this game and gives this game tons of replayability. The fact that I can play this game so many different times in so many different ways and get different experiences each time from those choices I made in the character customization. All the voice performances across the board in Divinity Original Sin 2 are excellent. The characters are charming and interesting and have arcs that you typically wouldn't expect from a game like this. The combat, the turn-based combat, is full of really interesting and fun abilities, and I had a surprising amount of really memorable gameplay moments from being in that combat, and the co-op is just the icing on the cake. Seriously, to be able to play a game like this with friends is one of the best things ever, and I'm so glad that this game exists because it is the most fun I think I've had playing a PC game this year. Seriously, Divinity Original Sin 2 is perhaps the best game you can buy on the PC this year. All that being said, my top game of the year isn't on PC, and that should be a pretty good indication for what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, my game of the year for 2017 is... When it comes to picking a game of the year, I always try to pick a game that represents the pinnacle of what game design has come to. Horizon Zero Dawn to me is just that game. Everything in this game was absolutely superb and excellently designed right from the very beginning. This game sets itself apart from open world games right away with the introduction of Aloy and this amazingly intriguing and confusing premise. How did this happen? And not only is that question explored, it's made infinitely more interesting the more you progress through this game, and the answers to it and all the questions tagged along to it are really satisfying, thought-provoking, and provide a fair amount of commentary on issues in our society today that might lead to an incident such as this. Though I think Assassin's Creed Origins has one of the most well-designed open worlds that I've ever played in, I think the world in Horizon Zero Dawn is on the level of something like The Witcher 3, so basically right under that open world from Origins. It feels very natural, it feels like an actual place in the future, of course, and not only that, but it's beautiful. This game is a visual marvel. Seriously, everything you absorb visually and audibly in this game is just the best piece of cake you've ever eaten. Fighting the various enemy types and bosses in the world is always fun and satisfying. The way that the game forces you to be a hunter and use the hunting mechanics was something that I didn't expect to be as fun as it was, but it really was. There were several times where I tried to go right in using my bow and arrow and my little staff to knock armor off of enemies, and sometimes I failed. In fact, I failed quite a lot because the game expects you to think like a hunter. Well, once I started thinking like a hunter and I started using the variety of tools and gameplay options that there was at my disposal, I found myself kicking infinitely more ass. And not only that, but it's actually really fun too, because a big problem that a lot of games like this that go for hunting mechanics go for is that they aren't really fun. They have these tools that you can use, but they aren't fun to use, nor do you really want to use them. And I did not have that problem even for a second in Horizon Zero Dawn. There's some really cool, innovative ideas for stealth here, such as being able to tag and track paths. The side quests always manage to paint a very intriguing picture of what life is like for the people in this strange world, and always provided cool lore. All the side activities were things that I wanted to do, and most of all, the focus of the open world allowed this game to feel a lot more complete and focused as a result. The controls are slick, the navigation is great, the attention to detail is mind-blowing, the facial animations are incredible. My god, I don't have enough praise to give for Horizon Zero Dawn, because this game was everything I wanted it to be and more. Seriously, Horizon Zero Dawn is perhaps one of the best exclusives that you can get on the PS4. Sony does it yet again by delivering another exceptional IP for its PS4 system. I am so looking forward to what Guerrilla Games does next in the future with potential future Horizon games. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the best open world games ever made, one of the best PS4 exclusives that you can possibly play at the moment, and if you can't agree to any of those things, it is, if nothing else, the game of the year for 2017. Alright folks, that has been my list. I struggled to get through all of them, but I did it. Overall, it has been a pretty great year for video games. I think just about as good as last year was. I am so looking forward to 2018 and all the video games it will bring. There are some really hot titles coming out next year. I think it's going to be something really special. I'm so excited. Thank you guys once again for watching and tuning in for yet another year of game coverage. Stay tuned. 2018 is right here. It's right here, basically. You're probably watching this in 2018. There's so many more games we're going to talk about this year. I'm so excited to get into all of it, and I hope you all come along with me once again for the journey. So thank y'all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out my other videos upcoming and prior to, and I will see you all in the new year. Peace out, fam. Have a good one. Go play some video games.